Richard, no playoffs.
Yeah, obviously you're talking about the Pirates. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
That's
how do you
projection.
feel? Are you dismayed, or are
About
you?
the Pengs. You know what?
Yeah,
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm not sure where. Usually there's a finger to point at. You know, I don't know who. I mean, we hear about the general manager. We hear about the trades he made, and nobody out of the three people we brought in, nobody did anything. I don't know. Is it circumstance? Is it time? Jari? Does he go? Does he stay? We had Phil Bork on the show with us
right.
about 2 weeks ago, and he was an all-in Jari believer. And I will tell you this: I'm an all-out Jari non-believer. And so I think, anyway, I don't want to pontificate here and let you speak because you have probably a lot more opinion than I do. It's disappointing after 16 years.
Well, no, it really is. I do think you could do two things. You can celebrate the times that were 16 years and be disappointed in what's happened the last 5 years. I I think there really is a question though about the fans and their expectations with who's in charge. Whenever the ownership group switched over, it became big box ownership. And if people are waiting for like John Henry, who's the owner of the Fenway Sports Group, to walk in and start pointing fingers and doing things, this is this is a portfolio builder team for him. It's not something where he's going to be involved day to day. And we've been so accustomed through the Rooneys or through Mario to see a day to day owner that I think that's rubbing people the wrong way now. There's not a face to all these decisions or what's going to happen next. And that's problematic because we're used to that in this city.
I don't think half the city even realizes that. I really don't.
Well, who's in charge? Well, if I asked you right now, who's in charge of the Penguins, who would you say?
Well, of course, I'd go to the head coach, and then I'd go to the general manager, and I'm not even sure what his name is, but it's the same. I don't look at the structure any differently than I did, even though I know it's different. I look at one's losses. I look at the way we've lost, and it's sad. I mean, these guys are great. They play hard. They're great. I really think that the general manager made some, really, that would be the person that I'd look at first.
Yeah, Granlund, to pick him up was terrible. Everybody knew that it was. It was never going to work. I think what happens now, the question is how, now that you're invested in the big three, so to speak, in Gino and in Malkin and in Letang, and you made that choice before this year, you just have to kind of ride this out because they didn't have bad seasons. They actually played very well. Sid and Gino played 82 games and will play 82 games. And to think about that, the fact they weren't hurt and you didn't make the playoffs, that's on the general manager for not accruing enough talent around them.
100%. 100%. I mean, Chris and Evgeny and Sydney, how could anybody even look at them and think that they're part of a problem? It's ridiculous. The problem, as you said, is the support team around. And honestly, I do think our goalie really needs to be upgraded. I don't know how many games were won or lost where a great goalie might have not lost. I don't know that number, but I do think that. And then the other part of it is it could be a Steeler move and nobody does anything, right?
Right.
And then we just go back and start creating different people around those three guys. I don't know.
Or is this the truth? And I don't subscribe to this, but some people have, and they've said this. You had 15 years of really good hockey. At some point, you age out, you get a little slower, and no matter how good those guys are, they are getting slower. And this is just the reality of the high times come with low times, and we're really into the low times. And they're not even all that low. It's just an average hockey team that just missed the playoffs. And we're dealing with the ups and downs. And that's the reality of what it is. And it's where we are. And you should be happy about what happened the past decade and a half.
Would you accept that?
I wouldn't. Can I explain why? Because I asked my question. I answered it myself. Yes. I'll explain why. And that's they tell us not to accept that. Like the
Well, you're
organization
back
tells
to
us.
that. You're back to that because you talked about that topic once before about the expectations of the fan base. So
Right.
so we've been trained, and I'm not sure I agree with it, but we did talk about it.
It's
I don't think year 10 or year 16 or year 2 should be looked at any differently. And if we've lost a step, then because I'm going to tell you, no matter, I mean, Sydney Gold, Malkin Gold, Chris Gold, but if you are implying that they have lost a step, you have to address that. And I don't know that they have. But if they have, because there's nothing that replaces speed, man. I'm telling you, speed and aggressive. And I don't know. I didn't watch. No, actually, I did. But they if they were in the playoffs for some reason, no matter what, I didn't feel like they had the talent around them to advance. And
yeah,
so
right. It would have been a fruitless endeavor anyway, right?
I think so. And so the only thing I look at right now is look, it was almost like the Steelers for me. Let's get it done. Let's go. Let's restock the shelves. Let's, I mean, I think and look at Omar, what he's done. But and that's one person that made a difference like that because and Omar came in fresh. Omar came in, even though he worked under Kevin for a long time, he's been probably planning his own moves for a long time. It's like, put me in, coach. I can't wait. I love you. I love these players, but if you put me in, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to put my own mark on this team. And I think that's what Omar is doing. He's known he was going to make these moves for a long time.
This would never happen, but so okay. Now you're going down a road that interests me a lot. And this is a good idea and a good question here. If someone came in and said, "We will give you 3 prospects and a draft pick or 2," and again, it would never happen, for Sidney Crosby, would you be willing to take this organization in a whole different direction starting tomorrow?
No, but I'd do it for Evgeny.
He won't yield that much, but let's play this fun hypothetical though, that it's 2 prospects and a draft pick. It says, "Hey, we'll take them off your hands," and you get somebody to bite. It won't happen, but that would. You'd be willing to do that
With Evgeny?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Letang?
I have a personal relationship with Chris. I'd say no. But I mean, I like him too much. But if I were just looking at, player John Doe, I mean, I probably would. I'd probably look at, and I'm not going to say the word upgrade, but younger, faster. Yeah, I probably would. Definitely for Evgeny. No on Chris. No on Sid.
Is it important to you, and this is a big meaty conversation, that Sidney Crosby retires as a Penguin for nostalgic reasons, or do you honestly believe that until the end of his playing days, he's going to be one of the best players, so it's most practical to keep him as a player?
Yeah, I think you keep him as a player, but I hope that at some point, and I hope he gets a new contract somehow, and I hope he gets what he's due, because I think he really came in just, and maybe just for Mario at that time to keep it viable, but I think his contract really is severely underpaying him.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is $8.7 million a year. But I fear if there's not a generational talent or there's not a marketable star, I fear what the city will turn into in terms of our interest in hockey, Richard, because you lived through when there wasn't Mario and when there was a lull, what it was, and there has to be someone to rally around that's a gigantic name. And luckily we've had that for a long time.
We've had it for a long time. So I didn't live here for a while. But I don't think I lived here when DeBartolo owned the team either. But yeah, I mean, you've had Mario. Who'd you have before Mario?
Well, we had Mario and Yager together with Coffee and those
Yager,
guys.
yeah. I mean, so I mean, you're going to have that no matter what. You're going to have that person, and Sidney's a good guy to rally that around. But my preference, and by the way, I'd like to clarify, I would not be out shopping Evgeny. I just wouldn't, because I would keep the 3 together, and if I had that choice. I would keep the three together and try to make better choices. But and what about Mike Sullivan? Would you do anything there?
He wouldn't be the coach after the season ended. He wouldn't. Here's the thing. And this is you're probably going to tell me this is a bad management style because you manage people and I don't. I'm just a guy that talks into a microphone. But at some point, if you keep not being part of the solution, even if you're not part of the problem, you get lumped in with being part of the problem. And this is too long without a playoff win. He may not be part of the problem, but he's not obviously part of the solution either. So,
well, but yes and no. Remember now, and you said that earlier. We haven't had a playoff win in 5 years. Is that right?
yes.
And what's the Steelers?
2018 is the last Penguins playoff win, and the Steelers have now 3 playoff wins in 13 years.
Right. So where do you go? Look at New England.
Okay.
What's happened to Bill Belichick since Tom Brady's left?
He doesn't appear to be as good of a coach, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Right.
So really, the players still play the game, right? And good players make people good. Great players make people great. And it's easy to coach. To me, it's easy to coach Tom Brady, right? The biggest thing is, you manage egos. You become almost a babysitter, not an X and O guy almost, but you work within a structure. I mean, look at Ben Roethlisberger. He came in and whatever the year it was, Tommy Maddox. How about that for a quarterback? Tommy Maddox.
How about him?
Tommy Maddox. He doesn't speak to me anymore. He doesn't like me.
Tommy Maddox doesn't?
No, he doesn't like me anymore.
Why?
Tommy Maddox doesn't like me anymore because I asked him for my car back.
What was your car?
I did a deal with him, and he had one of my cars, and he was done for the season, I think, and I said, I want my car back, and he just really got offended.
Well, it was so long ago. Was it a Model T?
That's pretty funny. Old number 8. He's a coach, I think, somewhere.
He's also a very good golfer, like a really good golfer.
Yeah, like Super Scratch. I know.
Well, you know what? It's crazy that you say that because I saw him walking to the golf course carrying his bag. He must not have a car.
That's pretty funny. No, he's a coach at St. John's Elementary. Just kidding.
No, man. Anyway, back to what were we talking about? Tommy Maddox and his golf game. So you asked the first car back. Did you get the car back?
Of course, but it wasn't supposed to be contentious. He left me a long note, for heaven's sake.
Handwritten or typed? Handwritten or typed?
No, it was handwritten. I don't think we had typewriters back then.
No, passenger pigeons. Did he have cursive or was it printed?
Let's stop this.
Was it cursive or printed? I need to know this.
Listen, with my luck, out of the 5 people that watch this, he'll be one of them.
Did you know that they don't teach cursive in school anymore?
They teach cursing.
They don't need to teach it. The kids learn everywhere else. They don't teach cursive, though. Like, they don't know how to write their autographs.
Come on.
Richard, I promise you.
Really?
Do you remember whenever we were growing up, which is different times for me and you, but they had this. They had on the board the capital.
Different times for me and you. Stop it.
They had the capital A and the small a, the capital B and the small b. And it was
there was a chart. It was a chart above the blackboard.
It was a runner along the top of the blackboard, right?
Right.
Non-existent. That's not a thing anymore. They just don't even acknowledge that.
Oh, that's just terrible. That's just terrible. Okay, so you're old. Can we come back into the sport with the balls?
Yeah. What do you want to talk about? The Steelers draft?
Well, you can. When is the draft? It's in Kansas City, isn't it?
Yeah, a couple weeks from now. A couple weeks from tonight.
Is it in Kansas City?
Is it in Vegas this week? It might be in Kansas City. I don't know where it is, to be honest with you.
I don't know. I thought it was Kansas City, but
It might be. It travels around.
I'm not sure.
Vegas last year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to come back to the Penguins. I just feel awful about that. I just feel bad for them. I really do. And I wouldn't replace Mike Sullivan. I really wouldn't. But Mike Sullivan played the best hand he could with the cards he was dealt. I mean, he didn't have the input, I don't think, on the players, on those three guys that he brought in. I don't know. I think. What do you think? What would you do if it were you?
I actually don't think Mike Sullivan is a gigantic part of the problem, but I don't think it sends the right message to just keep things as is. I would
mediocrity is okay. Yeah.
I definitely would get rid of Ron Hextall, the general manager. I definitely would get rid of Brian Burke, the president of hockey operations. And, I know this is non-traditional, but I'd get rid of those two without asking any questions.
But they came as a package, right?
They could leave as a package. I would probably, after that, I would retain Sullivan for a period to do this, to bring Sidney Crosby in and ask him if they can be effective with Mike Sullivan as the coach moving forward. I don't think it's a bad thing to get input from somebody that's so high on the pecking order.
I think that's a great move, actually. Yeah, I do. I would probably want to do the same thing. Yeah, I think it's a great move. And I think Sidney would say yes, that they can win and be effective.
If I was the ownership, I'd bring him in. I'd look around and I'd say, there's no speakers, there's no wires, there's no nothing in this place. I own this team from the Fenway Sports Group. Maybe have 2 or 3 guys in there and say, we got rid of the president. We got rid of the general manager. That's not negotiable. They're out the door. We need to, in the twilight of your career, make you most comfortable and put you in a position most conducive to, 1, win, 2, fill this building because it fills our pockets, and that's why we bought this team. Who do you feel best playing for as a coach? And make that happen. Do we keep this guy or do we go get somebody else?
Yep, I think it's right.
There are few people that have risen to the level in any sport to be able to call a shot like that, and I think he has. I think he's earned that.
So that's another question. Do you think he is a coach in the future?
Nope. I think Sidney Crosby retires and he becomes hermit-like in his public appearances. He'll come out for different things. He values his anonymity so much. He doesn't have social media. He doesn't have none of that. I think he probably doesn't even keep a house here, but he comes in for events here and there. He moves up to a lake house somewhere, maybe has a house in the South too, in Florida or somewhere. And he turns a page in his life, whoop, and hockey's done and life starts. Because all he's ever known is hockey 24/7, 365 since he's 5 years old. He doesn't have any hobbies.
Didn't he buy a house or build a house across from Mario?
Yeah, not far from him in Sewickley. Right, kind of not far from where Ben's new house is.
Yeah. Ben had you over?
Not yet. No. He did have Neil Walker over, though.
Did he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's interesting. Neil's a good guy.
The best. But no, to answer your question, I don't think we see much of Sid, and not in an adversarial way, just in a decompression, I'm done with hockey way.
I don't see that.
What do you see? Him being a coach?
He didn't make enough money playing hockey to do that. That's
he made enough. He made a lot of endorsement money in Canada.
Did he?
Yeah, he's fine. He's Sidney Crosby.
$8 million a year? Tax that. Take taxes out of that.
Why do you think like a businessman too much? I keep all my
you're talking about a guy's rest of his life.
I get paid in No. I get paid in cash and put it in my underwear drawer and don't tell Uncle Sam anything.
But your wife knows.
You just ruined the plot here, Richard. What would you do if you were him? Would you just want to not whittle away, but would you just want to go away and get rid of it all? That lifestyle?
No, I think the, when you're performing like that in front of all those people all the time, man, I think that's adrenaline. I don't think you walk away from that. I think as maybe a color guy or a commentator, I think you have to stay relevant. I don't think you just disappear. I really don't. I couldn't do it.
I could tomorrow. Like if I won the lottery, even for a nominal amount, you'd never see me again.
Yeah.
How about that?
Wow.
Anyway.
All right. Listen, I'm done.
Listen, you take it easy. Tommy Maddox looking for you. So I'll tell him where to find you.
I can run. I picture like the Flintstones, driving their car with the legs going underneath it. That's Barney Rubble. That's Barney Rubble. What an actor.
That's enough. I'll see you later.
Goodbye, chicken.
Bye.